Welcome to the first Fresh Start seminar. I titled it, What Do You Want? This is the question I want you to keep in mind. We'll be talking and answering this question a little bit later on. I like to start with cheesy quotes. It's supposed to be inspirational and engaging, but also they represent a message. I'll let you read this one. This is my agenda for today. This is me. My name is Tristan Donald. I'm the Fresh Start coordinator. I'm going to be here my main job is to help students that are feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, if they're feeling low confidence, if they're doubting themselves, if they are concerned about being successful in any sort of way. We have transition them and give them the skills, or actually see that they actually already have the skills, but provide them the encouragement to be able to learn a lot of complicated material in a short period of time, efficiently and effectively, which will hopefully lead to no burnout, less overwhelm, because we're focused on the important things, and thus giving you a better overall university experience, less stress. There will be some stress if we can't eliminate that stress, but that's my job. That's what I want to be doing for our students. That's what I do for students. Let's jump back into this agenda. I'm going to be talking about these things here. Before we get into that, I have a contest here. This is running until the end of September, I believe. Yep, here it is here, e-news orientation contest. All you have to do is go to our website, and what you'll find is you just have to give us your name and email address, and you'll go into the drawer for one of 3 $100 Visa prepaid cards. We all know money is helpful at this time of year. In addition, you'll be getting emails from us, which is just our newsletter, which just gives a lot of good content on the university experience, mainly around academics, time management, exam prep, writing in class, writing tests, reading strategies, all those sorts of things. And that comes out, I believe, monthly. So I'll give this contest a go. It takes about 2 seconds, and you'll be right in there. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. Before we get started and get into the administrative items and the overview of the program and eventually our question there about what do you want, I have to talk a little bit about where we are and expectations, what you might be expecting from me, but also what we're expecting from you. One key thing that I have to give you is that the online course and the Fresh Start program in general, but these seminars are mandatory for you, and we know that anyone that is asked to do, mandated to be somewhere, it's out of their control. They're forced to do it, and so they could shut down. I know that I do it whenever I have a mandated task at work, administrative, or even going to a staff meeting. I know that I can have a bad experience because I'll shut down, and I'm thinking that it's just administrative. They don't really matter to me. Some of the concerns are just sort of big picture stuff. It's not what I do day to day, and so I don't care as much, and so I don't engage. I shut off. And that's what happens just from being mandated to do something. So these seminars, this first one, first week of school, so it's not too bad. It's easy to have the energy to do these, but come October, come November, and then January, February, and March, you're going to find these really hard to attend, and you're going to be frustrated, and you're not going to get the most out of it. So I have one exercise that I want you to do, and it's called the free will switch. And I ask you just to push pause. Imagine that your life has a pause button. And you're just going to push pause, you're going to step back, and you're just going to notice what you're thinking, and what you're feeling, and what you're doing. Just those 3 things in that moment. And when we're being mandated to do something, we could notice that we're thinking, oh, I don't want to be here, oh, I already know all of this stuff. I'm feeling, oh, this just feels really uncomfortable. There's all these people around me. Do they know me? Are they going to see that I've got an RTW, that I'm in the Fresh Start program? We've got these feelings and thoughts that are going on, and it makes us feel really uncomfortable. I just want to get out of here. Everyone must think that we're a loser, whatever it may be. And those are really difficult to deal with. And I can't, as the presenter or as the instructor, address these. This is something that you're going to have to be able to do on your own. And the free will switch is one way to do that. It gives you control again. Yes, we've mandated you to be here, but you can take that switch and you can turn it on. Let the light come up, go from that dark place to a bright place where you are now in control. Yes, those thoughts and feelings are happening, and they're legitimate. They're yours, and they're happening. They're happening to almost everyone in that room all the time. But you're able to turn that switch on and say, no, I'm here for me. You're going to have to trust or take a little bit of a leap of faith that the presentation has something of value. And for everyone, there will be at least 2-3 things that anyone could take away from there if they were listening with an open mind. If they had that switch on, then we'll be able to have a better chance of taking something in. If your switch is off, I promise you'll have a worse experience. You won't enjoy them, you'll find them frustrating, and you think it's just going to be a waste of your time. If you turn that switch on, you're in control. You know that you can take 2 or 3 things away from this presentation or from the online course. Okay? Push pause is something that we're going to be talking a lot about. Let me jump out of here. I just want to talk a little bit about a climate and these seminars and what we sort of stand for too, is that we really care about your success. It's not you versus me. This is us as a team going through these fall and winter terms. You come into the program, and my job is to support you in anything that you need to achieve. You tell me what you want to achieve, and I will fight for you. I will advocate for you. And that's what the program will do too, not just me, but the other advisors as well. We definitely have a mutual respect. I respect you for all your strengths and for choosing to do the Fresh Start program, and you respect the program for giving you this opportunity and having employees that will work directly with you and specifically only with you to help streamline your ability to ask for help. We are very, very conducive to dialogue. We want engagement. We want to be able to talk with you. Trust is, there is a mutual trust, but I think it's going to have to be built. You're going to have to trust me by asking questions and letting me see follow through. And I'm going to start trusting you once we see you're taking action and that you're taking this year seriously. We're going to support you no matter what. We will let that trust build in this relationship. Take the whole year if it have to. We're here for you. With that being said, I'd like to introduce you to some of the other members of the team. Dr. Mabby Bell is the director of the Academic Success Center, and she is my supervisor, and she is heavily involved in the development of the Fresh Start program, the policies, and the online course, and how it is instructed. It's me. I gave you my little overview. Rajneek is she's got a few slides here. She's our access consultant, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about her in a minute. She came in last time and gave a 2-minute introduction for everybody. I'm just going to have 2 slides just to do that introduction in a minute. I just want to first introduce Tyree McCracken. Tyree McCracken is a graduate careers advisor, but he's going to be specifically our career advisor for the Fresh Start program. If you have any questions about career services, you'll be able to email him and talk with him directly. We'll also have Tyree coming in and doing 2 of our seminars. He's going to be coming in on the 19th and the 20th, and then he's going to be coming in the winter of September, and then he's going to be coming in the winter term as well. Just going back to Rajneek. Rajneek is an access consultant, and this term is not common on campus. She's the only one doing this, and the access consultant is a part of the Access Open Minds U of A site, which is actually just in sub. And Access Open Minds is a free service focused on helping students access the support you need when you need them. They want me to read this part here is, if you're ever feeling stressed, lonely, or confused, get in touch with one of the consultants. In this case, it's Rajneek. You can reach out to her, or you can reach out to via the F-Star email as well, saying that you're just looking for some support and you're trying to navigate services on campus. And they're very helpful because they will help you to navigate multiple. If you're having to use 3 or 4 different services on campus, they're very good at finding out which ones are the most appropriate for you, but then also helping you navigate that system, because that is very time consuming. You're trying to seek help from 3 or 4 different services. That could take up half your day or a few days each week, just trying to manage your appointments and getting to appointments. It takes a lot of time. So definitely reach out to Rajneek. If you're, she had a handout, but you could use her email address. I'll quickly go back here. Rajneek is here, but you could also just go through the Fresh Start email as well. Alright, let's get into a few of the administrative items. We've got the dates and deadlines for the ad drop. This one here is a little bit, the dates are similar. You got the 3 dates. This one here is ad drop freely, no problem. You get no charge. Anything after October 4th, you get a 50% refund, and then after November 30th, if you still want to withdraw, you have no refund. Now, withdrawals are in 2 parts now. They're all online. So before, if you've ever withdrawn from a class, some of you may have, some may not have. If you've ever withdrawn, it used to be a piece of paper that you had to get signed off on. And in the Fresh Start program, and not for every faculty from now on, it's go online, you go into Bear Tracks, you use the ad drop just as you did before September the 17th, but now you're still using it. You go in, you select the class you want to withdraw from, and then you submit that action saying you want to withdraw. What's going to happen is you're going to have a pop-up window saying you need to meet with the faculty advisor. In that case, it's going to be the Fresh Start advisor. And so you have to have a confirmation meeting with one of the advisors, which would typically be maybe or myself, or another designate, where we just have a 5-10 minute conversation seeing if this is the best choice, and just making sure that you're fully aware of what withdrawing means in regards to the Fresh Start program. We'll kind of talk about more about that when it comes to that kind of situation, maybe in the October seminar. But it's a 2-part process. You submit the online form, then we have a confirmation meeting, and if you still want to withdraw, then we confirm it and it goes through. If you want to keep it and stay in it, which does happen quite a lot, we can also do that, and the withdrawal won't go through. You'll be able to stay in the class. Here's our agreement from 2019. You guys all have signed off on the agreement, and I just wanted to go through and really just summarize what you did sign off on. We have some outcomes that we really want to achieve. The main outcomes, the main goals for the Fresh Start program is gain satisfactory academic standing. But another way of saying that is avoiding the RTW. We do not want a second RTW, and we avoid that second RTW by achieving that minimum GPA requirement. And everyone's, depending on the faculty you're coming from, is a little bit different. If you're coming from the Faculty of Arts, it was 18 credits, and a 2.0 was the minimum. If you're coming from Faculty of Science or ALS or Engineering or any of the other ones, then it was 24 credits in a 2.0 or 18 credits in a 2.7. That was the minimum requirement. So that's what you need just to avoid RTW. Admission is the main goal for our faculty applications. What are the requirements for Fresh Start? The requirements were you had to do the interview, you had to come to the intake session. We've asked you to ask for help, and if there's any supplementary instruction, you do take part in it. The online course, Cognitive Strategies, a reduced course load, which hopefully most of you are getting this sorted out, and we'll have that really fixed by the end of this week. And then the seminars, you have to attend the seminars. These were the requirements that you signed off on as well. So these are very achievable and very doable. I think you all agreed with that when I asked in the intake session. The requirements, though, to have a successful, so if you do this and get that GPA, then you avoid the RTW. For the faculty admission, it's really based around that competitive GPA. That's it. It really is. We have to focus right on that. Some will have some will have the application deadline. We'll definitely remind you of that, but you can look it up. It's typically March 1st. If you go into the university calendar, you'll be able to find that. The specific courses, some faculties, for example, if you're applying to business, then you have to have the 6 core courses, the 2 econs, the 2 English, and the math and stat, calculus and stat. You have to have those. I believe nursing sometimes requires a couple of courses, but they might be changing that now. So just talking with the faculty and asking the faculty, okay, what is my competitive GPA and do I need? And the deadline you should be able to find out, but you could ask them to, and are there any specific courses? There may not be any specific courses, or there may be some, but that's something that you are responsible for finding out to be able to have a successful admission. Okay. Asking for help was one of our key components, and we only say that because we know that from the intake forms that everyone completed, that most of you put down that you were average to below average in asking for help when it came to personal services or academic services. So we just want to remind you that the university, I put together this slide just because the university has so many services. There is a service for you. You think of a situation that you may be experiencing, that may be a struggle or could be a challenge. There will be a place on campus that could offer resources. And becoming more resourceful is one of the key aims that most students want to come through this program with, and that we definitely want to impart on students. Being resourceful is not a sign of weakness. A lot of students will say asking for help means that I'm not good enough or I'm not capable of doing it on my own, whereas other students will view these services as actual resources to help them grow and do their best, give their best. And that's what they're for. And I think if we have those two mindsets, I think it's very obvious to see if you have a mindset that asking for help is a weakness, you're going to have a certain experience. If you have the mindset that asking for help is about using your resources to the best of your ability, you're going to have a very different experience. And those are two mindsets that we'd probably flick in between. We'd switch in between them all the time. Very similar to pushing pause and having that switch. We can choose push pause and say, okay, it's time to ask for help. Or saying, no, I'm not going to ask for help yet. I'm going to keep trying and figuring this out on my own. Again, you can always start with me, Tristan Donald, me. Or you could even reach out just to the F-Start email box. You could talk to maybe Tyree or to Rajanique as well, if you have something more specific to careers or to navigating multiple resources. Our online course is Cognitive Strategies, and the course is designed to teach students about being a better learner. It's definitely going to challenge some of your beliefs and your approaches about how learning works. We have to dispel some misconceptions, and you're going to have some. All the students that come through their First Start program, no one is an expert learner. We always can learn something more about there are more secrets. We don't know everything that there is to know about learning, right, and how learning works. We have a very good understanding of what does work right now and what definitely does not work. And so that there is, especially in this class, we have to talk about what does not work, because that's typically what students are using. And we have to talk about this, and we have to provide evidence and show you that these things don't work, they don't help, they're ineffective, and they don't lead to learning. So that's going to be tricky because it's going to question your beliefs, especially if you're using those strategies. If you're using some of the ineffective ones, it's going to be very difficult to ask you to change. And so you're going to have some discomfort, you're going to have some frustration about what should I cut out, what should I be incorporating into my strategies, and it's going to be difficult because these habits are been going on for a while, and you have a certain way of doing it. So you're going to find that this course does challenge a few of your beliefs and a few of the ways that you go about doing your academics. We're definitely going to, next we're going to be, my main goal is to give students a better vocabulary to describe learning and achievement. When we talk to students, it's often, I go to class, I take my notes, and I review those notes by rereading and rewriting, and then I will, maybe I'll make some flashcards, but then I will memorize it, and that's how I get my grades. And those words are so common: review, reread, rewrite, memorize. I can't remember the fifth one. Those words are so frequent and so common that it does not describe what's going on up there. If you're rereading could be to reread for every single word. Are you rereading the material, but are you talking to yourself as you're going through it? Are you asking questions? Are you answering questions? When you're rewriting, are you rewriting every single word? Are you rewriting just a few bullet points? Are you writing different things? Are you paraphrasing? Are you writing it a different way? Are you also writing it in a visual way? Is it, there's so much more going on, so we want to give you that vocabulary so you can be very, very specific about how you learn and how you go about memorizing. How do you go about remembering and doing well on a test? And we're going to give you, in psychology, they go from the very first moment of paying attention all the way through to memorization. And in between, it could be 20, 30 different things that you get to choose that are going on. So you're going to be learning about that as well. And we want to give you that vocabulary so that you are specific about it. How do you keep up with the online course? Online course, we put together just this one pager here. And this one pager is organized by due date. Come into this, print this one off, keep it on your desktop, or if you can print it off, keep it on your keep it in your bag, keep it somewhere handy where you just sit down. You go in here, you have a look at what's due, what's coming up. These are all Sundays, so they're all due on a Sunday, well, except for the seminars, but all the learning checks are Sundays. So we know this is a Sunday, so sit down a little bit early during the week, find out what's due, go in, go to Module 2, do it. What you'll find is, again, all of the quizzes, I'll go back here, all of the quizzes, we can actually see September here. September finishes here as the end of September. There's about 40% in here. So half of your overall score. So remember that everything is pass or fail, but you get 3 attempts to pass it. So as long as you get an 80% score in the quiz, you go in and do the quiz. Maybe there's 15, 30 questions depending on the quiz. It's worth 4%. As long as you get 80, you'll get all 4 points, and you can even keep score here and just put your 4 down here. In E-class, it'll just show you that you passed or failed it, meaning that you got all the points for it. It means you got a score above 80, and you can also stop too. If you get an 81, you don't have to do the quiz again. You've got full marks. So if you get an 81 in adapting to university quiz, you get all 6. If you also got, say another person got 96, they still get all 6 in the quiz as well. Keep track of your score down here, and as long as at the end here your total down here in November is 80 or above, you've earned 80 of these points all down here. If you got 80 points overall, then you will complete this requirement of the Fresh Start program. Other than it being mandatory and I'm asking you to show up and take what you want out of it, I wanted to give you some value too. And these courses aren't just random. The online course isn't random, and the seminars, the topics aren't random either. We have a lot of background information and a bigger picture that we want to make these seminars quite specific about what students are experiencing. So we want to be able to address that. 99.9% of you refer to future employment as a key benefit for earning an undergraduate degree. So if we come from a career aspect or a career perspective, what are the skills that you'd be learning in this online course and in these seminars? The value is huge, and you're getting it nowhere else. The World Economic Forum is a major research institute, and 2016, I believe this one is. I think it's 2016. This here is these are the 10 skills for the future. Number 1 being complex problem solving, not just technologically like AI or bioinformation or biotech, things like this. They're also talking about complex human problems as well. We have to be able to solve for individuals. A lot of our jobs are going to be service, sales, or training, teaching, and helping. And so we have to be able to solve complex human problems. But we're also going to be using very advanced technologies where we have to be able to use those technologies also to be able to help solve those problems, to be able to logistically manage and to solve those problems. Critical thinking, I think if you looked at all of your course syllabuses, I think all your professors would put this on here. We have to keep in mind though, what does critical thinking mean? It doesn't mean that you're being argumentative and you're saying it's bad. Critical means we ask, why is it done this way? Why do we do things a certain way? We question our assumptions. We've been doing something so long, why are we still doing them? We can see these arguments everywhere, even at university. Why do we still give lectures? We know from the evidence that lectures are one of the worst ways of doing it, right? What are the alternatives? This is something that we're going to be asking you to be doing of yourself, specifically for studying. Why do I do things this way? And is there an alternative way to do it? These kinds of ideas. Creativity is another topic. We'll be talking maybe a little bit about creativity, but creativity can be interpreted in many different ways, from problem solving in math and physics to in chemistry and just doing scientific experiments to writing and actually making new things. So everyone has to do some sort of version of writing, so there could be creative ways that we can present that information. Actually giving presentations too would be an expression of creativity. Getting a message across. People management is going to be something that you definitely can learn from this course, as you're going to be learning about how to manage yourself. Self-management is one of the core principles and practices that you're going to be learning about. If you can learn to understand yourself and manage yourself, if your self-awareness goes through the roof and your self-management improves, then you're only going to be able to manage other people as well. Coordinating with others, if you've got control of your emotional intelligence, which we will talk a lot about in the seminars, and in the course as well, you'll end up being able to be more self-aware of yourself, which will make you more socially aware as well, and it'll make you a better collaborator. Emotional intelligence is sometimes a tricky one to define, but we just focus on the self-management, the self-awareness, and then the social awareness as well. It's going to be coming into it as well. Judgment and decision-making. Being able to work through dilemmas and make difficult choices is something that students have to do almost on a daily basis. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're very small choices. Sometimes they're big decisions. But you'll definitely be learning about biases that are involved and the psychology behind making better choices and being more comfortable with your judgments and decisions that you make. Service orientation, I think, is going to be something for everybody, that we're not teaching you how to provide a specific service, but everyone wants to help and contribute to their society. Everyone wants to help contribute to others or help others, but also contribute more to their community. I feel like that's a big message that seems to be coming out of your generation. Everyone wants to have some sort of impact. And I think knowing more about yourself and the psychology of how you work, being more self-aware, is only going to be able to help you to provide better service and help more people. Negotiations, maybe not so much. Maybe that self-awareness piece will come in again and be a little bit helpful, but nothing specific. Coming to better resolutions between two parties. Cognitive flexibility, I think, is absolutely what the online course is specifically about. Being able to cognitively switch in between and adapt to your changing circumstances. We're going to see shortly that your circumstances are challenging. Even if things are going good, they're challenging. So what we're going to be seeing is that we need to have multiple perspectives to be able to come in and change and adapt and be flexible. A couple of quotes from the document as well that I wanted to highlight were: they're seeking a flexible problem solver who can manage deadlines, adapt well to change, and is a team player. Flexible, manage deadlines, adapt to change, and as a team. We can see that these are key words that are going to be popping. You're going to notice these words are going to be popping up in the online course, and I'm specifically going to be talking about in the seminars as well. So we're going to find different ways of doing this. Yes, you already have your own approaches, and we're going to challenge some of your beliefs. You have your own way of doing it and doing these things, but there are things that you don't know yet. There are going to be some secrets that you could learn. Here, I'm forgetting his name now. It's Professor Van Dam, I think it's Mike, talking about what workplaces will look like. And what I liked about this quote and what I'm trying to shift from here is that it's about learning. Is that you're going to be expected, because change is happening so fast, learning is essential. And he's coming from the side that companies are going to have to make this, that people, their employees are learning all the time. Because this is going to be the competitive advantage for companies. People that are able to adapt and change faster are going to be able to help the companies more. And this adaptation, this change is happening so fast in a 55-year career, which is expected. The ability to learn, lifelong learning, is going to be a key ingredient for any sort of success for the individual. So here, we're just saying that this is what the online course is about: learning how to learn. That's why our services at Academic Success Center, we can help anyone. People coming from engineering, we can help them. People coming from mathematics, we can help them. People coming from, I don't know anything about biochemistry. If someone sits down and they show me, we can talk about how learning works, and we can apply those principles of what we know and what we know don't work, and we can help students to improve. We can learn anything by applying some principles. That's what we're talking about here, that this can happen. So that's what the online course is going to be specifically about: learning how to learn. So with that being said, what are the keys to academic success this year? This is the final portion of our seminar today, and I don't know if I have this up here. I'll pause it and I'll get so you guys can see the answers that everyone provided in class. Hold on a second. So here are the responses of your peers. What is the key or keys to success this year? Someone said stop playing video games, time management. See what you might say to this answer. Organization, good habits, being committed. Self-care, taking care of yourself is definitely a key ingredient. You've got to be committed to doing this for sure. Staying focused and motivated. Yep. Effective time management and being mentally healthy. Absolutely. So we're talking a lot about health, and time management seems to be coming up. And also being effective in your studying seems to be being committed, sticking to your goal, knowing what you want, and focusing on that first. Prioritizing it. Exactly that, prioritizing. Understanding priorities are coming up now. You're not a donkey, or are you? Not sure. Work smart, not hard. Self-management. Doing what you love. Motivation. Well, yeah, motivation we're going to see is key, and it is in the realm of control. You'll see that in the motivation module, that you can start controlling it. Positive mental attitudes. Again, easier said than done, some of these ones. But you're right, we're talking about the similar keywords, but we might have different. Being more responsible, absolutely, taking responsibility for your learning. Yeah, that is one of the key ingredients for the strategic learner. Is strategic learners take responsibility. They take it all on, no matter what happens, good or bad. Okay, so these are the great answers that we got from your peers. Let's see how I might answer this question and see if we can get a little bit more specific. Like time management, what does that mean, or how do we go about doing it? What we'll find is that when we're asking these bigger questions, we're very good at saying what. We're very, very good at saying what needs to happen, but we're not very good about saying, okay, how do we go do that? So let's go in, and before we even really get started, it's a little bit tricky that I want to keep this in mind, first of all, because I find this very interesting, and I want to come back to it. Is in an airplane, they monitor multiple gauges, but there is the basic 6 that they have in all planes, whether you're a jumbo jet or you're a little tiny Cessna. They'll have these 6. They might look a little bit different. You have how fast you're going. You have the vertical speed as well. You'll have how fast you're turning. You have how high you are at any point in time, and you have your heading indicators. Sometimes this is a compass, but this is just telling you in which direction you're heading. And then they have this one here, which is unbelievable to me. This is why I wanted to show it in here. They have an attitude indicator. Can you believe that they have an attitude indicator? It's unbelievable to me. I just love this idea. Imagine if you had on your phone an app that just was, this is my attitude right now. I got a great attitude right now. Things are going great. Okay. Well, my attitude is poor right now. I got to pick this up a little bit. We even start thinking that. Sometimes we're not even that self-aware that we even know that we're in a good or bad mood. And life is just crappy, but maybe it's our mood that is allowing us to see life through this way. So one of the things that I want to keep in mind here is that when you're a plane, you're flying this attitude indicator is whether you're flying with the horizon or not. So if your wings are out, are you a little bit off, or are you flying with the horizon? This kind of idea, which is kind of great because it sort of represents, are you on track? It's kind of, I think being on track is maybe the compass and the attitude as well at the same time. Do you know where you're going, and are you flying right, or are you a little bit off? We know that even if we're a little bit off, if we make a choice and we choose to go over here and we're only 1 degree, even just a little bit off from our course, we can end up 2 days from there. If we fly for 1 degree off, we're going to be miles away from our destination. We end up somewhere completely different. And I think this is an important idea to keep in mind. Let me switch back here. We have to agree on a context though. So as we come into this year, we always use the annual student life cycle. This isn't a joke, this isn't funny, this is a survey of dozens of students, and used to, as a trend, everyone is a little bit different, but as a trend, we come in September with super high motivation, high energy, high hopes. By December, our energy is drained. We get a little bump in January, and then it's staying through until exams come again. And this idea is, I think most people would find it, I think most people put their hands up in the seminar, that this is a typical experience. We're here, this is unfortunately the most energy you're going to have for the next little while. But my argument that I want to be able to give you is that this is happening, let me bring me back up, this is happening because of the university environment itself. Your motivation isn't coming down because you don't lack motivation or you don't lack perseverance. It's because, let's agree on something. In this room, like in both seminars that you guys missed, were, I think we had maybe 100 in the first one, and then maybe 110 in the next one, give or take a few. And it was, how many people are full-time students? All of them. Okay, we've got that in common. How many are taking 3 to 4 courses? Okay, so everyone's got a decent course load. How many of those courses are complicated? How much of that material is complex? All the hands go up. Yeah, some of that material, if not most of it, is going to be complicated. Yeah, so you've got a lot of complicated material, and then how many weeks in a semester? A few hands come up. It's 14 weeks, which is about 98 days. 98 days, which you will sleep 1/3. Yeah, so we bring that down to around 66 days. So you got 66 days to learn your 4 courses worth of material. All those books, all those lectures, and you got to perform a multiple tests throughout there. This environment causes and pushes that energy down. We get overwhelmed or burnt out when trying to do this. Yeah, it's our environment and how we, cognitive flexibility, back from how do we adapt and work with this environment to stay course, stay on course. You know what you want. Do we know what we want? That's one of our quizzes, the question of this. We know what we want, so we've got our compass. Am I going in this direction? I got to know where I want to go. Okay, and then I got to keep my attitude right. Can I get there without going off course too little? And if we go off course, one of the things that we can see is that when we push pause and we become the pilot, we push pause and we become the pilot, we can adjust. We push pause and we become the pilot. We're not the plane anymore. We're flying off course. We just quickly push pause and become the pilot. We see our indicators are a little bit off. Oh, I'm not flying with the horizon, or I'm not on track. Okay, let me get back on track. We can make that choice. And this is all that you've got control over. You have no control over that timing. You have no control over the assessment. You have no control over the courses. You don't even have control over your grades. Your grades are most of the time going to be based on a curve and in competition with your peers. So all you can do is focus on doing the work. Let's keep looking at this a little bit more. I talk a little bit about how this actually feels as I want to bring the point home. You're getting squeezed. This is pressure that is squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And there is an old saying that says, if we squeeze you, what are we going to get? in terms of character and attitude. What are you going to get when you get squeezed? Because it's coming. We know. I think we agreed that this is what it looks like, that you're going to have a difficult semester. Everyone is, because of you're all in the same boat. You've got a lot of complicated work in a short period of time. So we're going to feel stressed. We're going to feel the pressure from not just academic deadlines and assessment. We've also got concerns about the future. Am I heading in the right direction? Am I in the right program? Is my boyfriend or girlfriend even into me? Right? We're going to have these small everyday things, big relationship things, and our reactions to them, let alone all our academics. So this is the whole picture. This is the whole person. So you're getting squeezed from all areas. So it's how can we stay on track and achieve your goals while also managing the rest of your life? Before we get into my argument for the key, I've kind of described it a little bit, or what I specifically think is going to be the key to your success. We have to talk just a little bit about what not to do. I've given you just two things, and these two things will destroy your chances, in my opinion, will destroy your chances of being successful. So there's two. Let's have a look. You could call them an attitude, you could call them a belief, it could be a thought that you say to yourself, or a feeling that you have, or an opinion you have. But for me, what I can see from the literature and from my experience with students for the past 7 years is these two attitudes don't help. They really don't. So number one, I already know this. This is an attitude that just shuts down learning completely. If you go into your lectures, or you come into our seminars, or you read any of the courses or any of the skills or the approaches to a new method to do something, and you say, I already know this, then you don't try to learn it. There's no learning. And this belief may be accurate, it may not be accurate, maybe it's not as accurate as you think it is. Maybe you know it to a certain extent, but have you seen it presented in a new way? Have you actually followed through and incorporated this? Would you agree that this method was effective? If so, why haven't you made it habitual and it's a part of your daily routine in that particular area? Saying that you already know something is also a common bias that we have. Is known as the hindsight bias, and we see this constantly in the news. You see this in politics and business. The stock market went up, and people beforehand not saying too much. Afterhand, it goes up. They say, "Oh, it went up because of this. I knew it," but no one was saying anything before. Or people predicting winners in political races. They're going to be saying before, oh, it's got to be this, got to be this. The accuracy of these talking heads, they're often called, is way off. They're not as accurate as they think they are. And these guys are the experts. So when we have this belief that I already know this, we might not be being as accurate as we think we are. And all we know is that if we have this belief, we shut down. And we don't take anything in. So you're not fully open, your free will switch is now off, and you're not taking anything in. Very, very basic amount. And then there's no chance of learning. If we stay open and have a different perspective, which I'll give you in a second, it'll give us a chance to have learning take place. The next one is disagree. And this one here is a little bit tricky. Yes, we're talking about being critical and questioning things before, but disagreeing here means more along the lines of, I like to do it this way, and this is how I do it. I like to do things this way, and this is how I do it. So I want to replace these two with, number one, seek synthesis. Seeking synthesis asks us to incorporate the best ideas from different areas to be able to come up with better answers and to be more flexible, to be able to be more adaptable to different situations. If you meet with a counselor, then they might be able to draw on cognitive behavioral science, or they'll be able to draw on acceptance and commitment therapy, or they could draw on behavioral therapy. If they just stick to one model and they say, no, this is the way and this is how I do it, they're going to miss opportunities maybe to help people. As different things, different approaches work better with other people. So your goal here is to say, okay, this is how I do things right now, but if we seek synthesis, then we're asking, I'm going to take that from over here because that will work when this is the situation. And when this is the situation, if I have this idea, that'll be able to help me. We want to have this literally as a toolbox to be able to pull these out. And these tools are now actually just mindsets. being flexible. If we know that as a personality, I am very open-minded and I get easily distracted, I really enjoy doing things, I'm very curious, I can know that about myself and say, okay, when I sit down to do an essay, I could end up getting lost in all the readings, and I start reading everything, and I get nothing done, and now I'm just been reading, and I haven't focused it down yet. So knowing that about myself, saying, okay, I've got to be able to be more focused and get to the point much quicker so I can adopt a more focused mindset. So being able to say that this is going to help me in this particular situation. Pushing pause, saying, okay, what is the best possible tool that I could be using right now? This is my typical approach, but how could I do better? What could I use to have a better outcome? This kind of mindset, that we're completely flexible, that we can change even our personality, even how we learn something. We can adopt different ways of doing things at any given point to optimize our behavior. If we do this, we're doing it in line with, again, what do you actually want? So if we already know what we want, then we're able to keep these decisions. Whenever we push pause, we can always keep track and make sure that we are on track. The second part is when we're looking at this idea of this is how I always do it, we don't want to get attached to any particular way. As I said before, if you go to that counselor and they just get locked into one certain way, they miss out on the opportunity of learning all these other great strategies that could also benefit their clients in that example. So switching from this is how I do it to am I doing this the best possible way? This is a great way to open up and allow learning to happen and to become more flexible and adaptable as a person, as we have to in the situation of so much stress. Most flexible person will win, and in this situation we have to become flexible because it is so much pressure going on. We have to be able to bounce, have stresses bounce off of us, or we have to be able to dodge and weave and move away from or around these stressors. We can't let everything get to us too much because we've only got so much before we get overwhelmed or burnt out. So my argument is, if this is the situation, this is the time we need most of, this is when we have most of our energy, so we have to do most of our work here so that I can be assessed here. So our argument is small, smart choices consistently over time, massive difference. If you're doing it, here the time scale is 27 months, but if we're doing it just on our schedule of a one semester, choices will lead to behaviors. Behaviors will hopefully end up becoming habits. So I need it to be habitual down here. I need to be studying every single day. I need to be doing my readings every single week. So if I incorporate and use all my energy here to turn these into habits, when I get down to November and December, I'm just doing it now. There's no stress anymore. It's just the way I do things, and I'm able to get through it without having too much willpower or self-discipline needing to be incorporated. Small choices will become behaviors, will lead to habits. Let's have a look at this in an academic way. I was wanting to, maybe I'll point out one thing before we move on here, is that there is, when we go from, let's say, September to December, there is no change. There is little change. It's not even noticeable. If you're changing things on a day-to-day basis, these small, smart choices might be half an hour of studying every single day. And that half an hour of studying every single day, we become more efficient. So each half an hour grows by 1-2% over time. So the half an hour that you're putting in September really could be in October. You're doing the same half an hour, but because you become more effective, that half an hour is maybe worth 45 minutes of September time. Then once you get to November, now you're half an hour, maybe you become even more effective, and now you're doing 50 minutes, 1 hour, but really that's 50 minutes, 1 hour of work in that 30 minutes because you're becoming more effective and more efficient consistently, day in and day out. So that growth ends up becoming, you're still doing that half an hour in December, but all of that work throughout September, October, and November really comes to on display in that time. Let's have a look at what that might look like academically. Student B goes through, and most common responses, they go to classes, everything's based around the lecture. They review their lecture by rereading and rewriting their notes. After 10 classes, looking at a midterm, after 10 classes is about average for a midterm. You're going to have all those notes that you rewrote, and you don't have anything written down for the rereading. But hopefully you're trying to keep it fresh, and in this case the students say they're trying to memorize it. They continue to reread their new notes, so they got their rewritten notes. They don't read their old lecture notes, maybe they read both, but they keep rereading at this point too. After they notice that they've got their midterm in 1 week, so from this 1 week they're going to do some testing, test some flashcards. They may have been doing it in their head here as they go through, but the student couldn't articulate that yet. Maybe they make some flashcards at the very end. They get through, they want to do 50 or so, but maybe they struggle for time, and flashcards always take a little bit more time than we expect them to take, and that's where they're at. If we have a look at the student looking at small, smart choices, one strategy you can learn about is the retrieval strategy, asking questions, and doing this on a consistent basis as creating a self-test. Creating a self-test is going to be hugely beneficial, and we'll see that here. This student, during their review session, they also reread their notes and they rewrote their notes, but they also made 10 questions. So they looked at their notes from that lecture, one lecture, and they just made 10 questions. If this was a question on an exam, what might it be? After 10 classes, they've now got 100 questions for their test material. So they know that those 10 lectures, if it's lecture-based or if it's textbook and lecture, they've got 100 questions based on all of those 10 classes. So they've been able to ask and answer these questions throughout this period of time, whether that's 3 weeks or 4 weeks of classes or even 5 weeks of classes. They've been able to do these questions consistently day in, day out, not just write them, but ask them. Ask and answer those questions. Yes, they're going to get them wrong, but these are free questions. This is about learning the material. After 1 week break, they're able to review 100 questions 4 or 5 more times. Who is going to have, just from doing a small change, who's going to have a better experience? Unfortunately, in this situation, both students feel confident, but the results will be highly different. Small, smart choices consistently over time is where we're at. This is what we need, and my argument for doing more and having more this year. So your job is we still have to know. We have to know where we're going. You have to know your outcome for the semester. You have to be able to monitor and manage your life to learn a lot of complicated material quickly. This is you going from being the plane to being in the cockpit. You're the pilot of your semester. You are in control. Sometimes we're the plane, sometimes we're the pilot. We want to quickly jump into the pilot from time to time. You can use the push-pause strategy. It's very helpful just to quickly push pause and remind yourself, okay, I need to be the pilot for a second. Do it daily. Do it weekly. Do it monthly. This is how the seminars are going to act. The seminars are going to be acting as your monthly push pause, a really big push pause to be able to see, okay, where have I come and where am I going? And do I need to change course? Identify anything specific that influences academic success. That's your job. Go into the online course with an open mind and you learn as much as you can and synthesize. Seek as much synthesis as you can. All we're going to be doing is pushing pause and asking ourselves, am I moving towards my goals or am I heading away from my goals? This is your choice. Every time you push pause, it's your choice now. You are back in control. That's why I have this handout. We start with the vision. What do you actually want? Then we go into the categories of your life that you need to focus on. And then we're going to look at breaking up each category into a project, and then that project will have some tasks. Now, it's limited to 2. Sometimes you might have 3 tasks in there. Let's have a look at a couple of examples of how this works out. The student here, I did one for Final Exams Mastery last year. Get a good result as possible as I can and keep this in mind for a long time. The student was focused on wanting to have full focus on just doing well in academics in their finals. So the first category was I have to get new knowledge. So I still have to go to class and take notes and review those notes. So I still have to learn the new class material. But I also want to review and remember the old knowledge. So I have to go through the old information. So they came up with these 3 projects. Finally, they wanted to get energy and confidence. They did this by being healthy, reducing trouble from living, and keeping motivated. So they had these different strategies. Look at these. These are great. Be healthy, exercise. Go talk to a doctor to keep mental health. Amazing. Saving money was so starting from here, we would never known that saving money might have been something that would have been a part of this, right? But if we start from here, we just have a whole bunch of things that may not be prioritized. But if we want to stay prioritized, starting with our vision of what we actually want for this year. And what I noticed is that most people are going to be saying, I want a high GPA. I would add in there, throw in a lifestyle goal as well. How do you want this semester to go? Just focusing on the full semester or the whole year. Focusing on the full semester, how do you want your actual life to go? Do you want to get a 4.0 GPA and that's it? That doesn't really say too much. If we say, I want to have the best possible experience while learning a lot of complicated material in a short period of time, best possible experience I can have, that's much more exciting. But then we have to break that down. What does that mean? Well, to do that, I have to stay healthy, or I have to take care of my mental health, or I want to have awesome relationships. Last year, I neglected my relationships, and they weren't that great. Or academics is going to be one of them. So put academics is definitely going to be on that list. So that's going to be a priority as well. Putting in where you want to focus. Relationships could end up being projects about, let's see if we got another one in here. Relationships could be parents, personal relationships, roommates. It could be engaging with a group, somehow making new friends. That could be a priority. And so then you have to go down to the next one. Okay, how do I go about joining a group? Put in 2 tasks. Or making new friends could be one of the projects. How do I go about making new friends? We have to come up with strategies that can do that. And when we start from here, we figure out what we want, then it tells us how we go about getting that thing. Another student said, very simple, no regrets. What does that mean? If I want to have no regrets, then I have to be able to manage my stress and be healthy. I have to be prepared for finals, and I have to have all my current assessments for study organized. This is a great way to do it. This is something very easy to remember, and these 3 things would definitely impact not having any regrets for this term. And then they broke it down even further, which is great. This one here I put in as it's one of my favorites. They want to have a solid routine. They want to finish going to all classes and midterms. So they got a little bit specific here. It wasn't a big vision. They got into some of the details already. But we go into the categories and we can see this is about what they're having a not to-do list. And they've got these ideas of we've got to start assignments and readings early. So they put in, it's very specific now down here, how to go about some of those. But this one here, this category about don't go out, this idea about not going out. So no clubs, less bar, less gym. So also knowing what, if we push pause and we had one of those gauges in the cockpit about some of the things that distract you or take you off course, that would be great to know. Okay, I don't want to be doing as much of that this year. And then even going through and saying, less bars, he put in here, less rat, so don't go there as often, maybe only 1 day a week, down to the 2 weeks before finals, not going at all, and having this as a rule around finals, which is very easy to remember and easy to follow too. So we've come down to, I put in this little model here of, we've talked a little bit about this, and that you've already built your scorecard. If you do that sheet, then you're going to have this model that helps you to keep track of it. You're going to know what your most important goals are. You're going to be able to follow and keep track of lead measures are just those tasks. What tasks you have to get done. Act on those tasks over and over and over and over and over. Small, smart choices consistently over time. If you keep that track, it's going to be a scoreboard for you too. If you want to make it more specific, you can meet with somebody like me to make you accountable. You say, okay, this is what I want, and now it's not just you, it's me and you following along and saying this is what you want to achieve, and then you coming back and reporting, okay, this is what I did and this is what I didn't do. And having that accountability, whether it's me, a parent, or a friend, is very helpful when trying to make major changes. If we're trying to make anything habitual, go from choice to behavior to habit, accountability is great in those first 30 days. Having that accountability helps to turn these things into a habit. So you can definitely give me a shout out, either email me or just use the calendar. We can definitely look at seeing how we can help hold you accountable to your school board. You know what you want to do. I started off with Aristotle, and it's only because he absolutely nailed it. We know that excellent. Science is now telling us that it agrees completely with Aristotle. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, knowing what do you want, sincere effort, small choices consistently over time, intelligent execution, small smart choices. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, will determine what happens this semester for you guys. Small, deliberate choices consistently over time. Be flexible and open-minded. Not that you already know this. Turn on that switch. Be open to learning something new. Push pause daily, weekly, and monthly. Monitor your action plan. Jump in and out. You're going to be the plane most of the time. You're going to be flying that plane most of the time, but please push pause, jump out, and monitor. Jump into the cockpit. You're the pilot. Are you on track? Are you off track? How can you adjust? What do you need to do? And that's going to be the topic of, you're going to have some of the best answers to that, but that's going to be the topic of where we can focus in the rest of our seminars. All right. Thank you very much. Make sure you answer the questions below and submit. That massive action plan is going to be one of the things you have to submit as well. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next seminar.